G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Kenty, Wednesday, darts day for you. You ready?
I've been pumped, yeah. Doing a bit of practice actually was. So
Okay.
yeah, trying to hit those doubles. I can't. But anyway,
Look out, whoever they're facing. Mate,
there was a blue in the darts last week.
What's that? A stink?
Not,
happened?
thank heavens I wasn't there. It was at
okay.
another venue. So, yeah, but I'm fascinated that in a B-grade darts, Balmain darts competition,
Yeah,
people take it that seriously that they punch on.
Like punches?
Yes.
Fair dinkum.
Oh, old man punches. you
Yeah,
know.
wow. Oh, very good. Maybe that's a sport we need to get to.
It's becoming a spectator sport,
Yeah,
I can tell you.
Fantastic. Forget your NRL this weekend. Let's go to that.
Well, mate, look, it's not bad there yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, very good. Mate, let's start off at the top with Brisbane have dropped Shibasaki. And
Yeah.
is it much of a big deal? What do you think?
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, look, in itself, no. The problem is the bigger picture. He's had a dream year, Shibasaki. He's come from basically being a state cup player to playing state of origin. He's gone from earning basically a train and trial contract to now, look, I don't know where his deal is at now, whether he's signed the big extension, but certainly he's going to be on $500,000 or more.
So those trainer trials there, I think they're 80. Are they 80?
I think it's $1,500 a
A
week.
game. And then they go to 80 and then the minimum's 140. So he's probably on 80.
Oh,
before
yeah.
this.
Well, no,
Yeah.
training trial's only $1,500 a week. They can
Right.
cut you at any point.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, so he's gone from that. He's had this wonderful year. He's got to the final hurdle, essentially, a week before the playoffs. And, he's shit to bed, to be honest. He's...
So what's he done? He's got on the piss.
he just went out Sunday night, got on the drink.
Got a bit excited.
Well, what happened? And again, I don't think there's anything wrong within the club that you're not allowed to go and have a beer.
Yeah.
But he turned up at the club still. Their words feeling the effects. So
The next morning.
So they believe he was still drunk.
That's a big drink.
That's a big drink, and the point of that, they made him train anyway. They flogged him. Okay.
God. Yeah.
But it's just when you're this close to getting the prize, and Brisbane need to win this week to finish top 4, which gives them a second chance at through the playoffs. And as we're hearing endlessly, you need to finish top 4 to win a premiership, given the history of the competition. So it's been a very important game for those reasons. I think it's also important to understand that Michael Maguire, the coach, took it to his senior playing group, spoke to them about it, and they endorsed his thoughts about standing him down.
Yeah.
And it is a big loss for the Broncos. They've got to put Dean Mariner now in the centres.
And a big risk, right?
So they're playing Melbourne at home, but still it's a game they must win, and it's against a team they don't have a particularly good record, the Broncos, let alone Michael Maguire's record against Craig Bellamy when he goes against him head-to-head. So Michael Maguire doesn't have a great record against Bellamy. Brisbane, you would go as far as say the last 10, 12, 15 years, don't have a great record against Melbourne. So they need all hands on deck, and they've lost one of their most powerful players in the team. So from that point of view, it's a big one.
Madge hasn't beaten Craig Bellamy since 2013.
2013, yeah, it's amazing. It's only ever beaten him once. That was the only time he ever beat him.
Yeah, wow.
So, and that's when he had South Sydney, who were a year away from a premiership. So they were well and truly on the trot back then, the Rabbitohs. So, yeah, look, I just the timing of it. I don't.
So if you're the coach, is that a decision you make?
Yes, it's a coach's decision.
No, but would you make that decision if you're coach?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think Mike Maguire's also thinking bigger picture, and he's thinking for the long-term future of the club. Once you start making allowances like that, every club talks about culture, and the way they explain culture's the standard of behaviour that you don't walk past, okay? And if you're going to let blokes turn up still half cut from the night before, that's an issue. Legally, it's actually an H&R issue too. If you want to go down that far, you can get in trouble there. And the NRL's got a couple of law cases going on, lawsuits going on at the moment about with
duty of care,
duty of care and things like that. So, not that the Broncos seem to care; they flogged him, but but the point is, it was really, I think it was just a real letdown for the club. And I think from that point of view, I think they had to treat it seriously. It's not the worst crime in the world. We all know that. But from just setting a standard of what's acceptable within the club, if you let him get away with it, then how do you let the next guy not get away with it?
Yeah, we were talking probably 3 months ago that the knock on the Broncos is around their culture and kind of this rat pack and, led by Reece Walsh and those kind of guys.
Well, look, there's an immaturity there. Even Reece Walsh, he got in trouble earlier this week with the toilet gag, right?
Can you believe that?
Well, it's silly. And look, I can understand jokes backfiring, all the rest of it, but he's doubled down on it. Like he's since gone and posted a photo of his dog at Bunnings with a sign through to plumbing in the background, and he's now changed his little, what do you call him, his little avatar on his
profile pic,
on his profile to plumbing and co, or put himself in a plumbing uniform. And the thing about that, though, is you go, okay, well, as a young man, he's making mistakes, and look, that happens. But this is also the guy who, at the beginning of the year, wanted to start his own YouTube channel to give people an insight into his world. So that would suggest he understands
his image and
the value of his image and the value of selling himself. Now, if that's what he's going to sell to people, this character that's loose like that.
Yeah.
Look, he might make a living on YouTube, but I don't know how long he's going to survive in rugby league doing that. Because the one thing that so that's what the Broncos are trying to get out of him. He plays this fast and loose style that when it's firing, it's brilliant. But when it's not, we saw it on the weekend. Throws a pass, looks $1 million, Broncos score, goes to throw the pass again, gets intercepted, Cowboys score.
Yeah.
But he did go to. They set up the same shape a bit later in the game. He shaped the look. The winger got in to intercept again. He held the pass and went through himself and set up another try. So that showed the capacity to learn, I suppose. But the fact is, it's just, if I'm Michael Maguire and I've tried to get this team firing all year and I've struggled to get them firing all year, and here we are a week before the finals, and I've got Masena turning up to training drunk, and then I've got my fullback who has a gag that backfires.
Drinking out of a toilet.
Yeah, but drinking out of a toilet. But look, I get the gag, right? He's just renovated his house. It was just newly installed. It's not like, without being too gross, it's not like it's ever been used.
It's not a well-used
No,
throne.
Okay. But the fact that he's now failed to actually understand it and deal with it and grow from it, instead he's just basically doubling down on what's already a joke in poor taste. That's a concern.
What about the idea that the Broncos are going to have a kind of a minder?
Well, some clubs do that, but I don't think you can. How can you have a minder for a bloke who 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night sitting at home thinks it's a funny idea?
Drinking water out of the toilet.
Yeah, how do you stop that? I just don't know how you do that. That's just something that I think there's going to be a few tough lessons learned at the Broncos before they get to where they need to be under the coach.
Do you think it's the modern footballer and the exposure to social media and that kind of stuff which is driving that? Compared to the old days when guys could get away with that stuff.
Well, as we know, social media is an awful thing. Okay, nobody would be worse off except probably a few women in bikinis. Nobody worse off if they ever got rid of social media. You know what I mean?
Well, if I can't see those women in the bikinis, I'm not as
but that's what. Yeah, they're the influencers seem to make all the money out of it. That's the point I'm trying to make. But the damage it does far outweighs any good it does. This idea, I remember.
That's a chat for another show, Kenty. Come on, we're not,
But anyway, you're asking the questions.
I'm
just going back.
Yeah, no, sorry.
PointsBet's new 5 for $25. Answer more or less to 5 player performance questions and get $25 odds. The fast and easy way to place the same game multi on rugby league, available only in the PointsBet app. PointsBet, built different.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Mate, let's talk about Bellamy and how the Storm react to him last week being disappointed.
Be very interesting, yeah.
What do you think? I mean, he hasn't rested too many players.
Look, we alluded to that on Monday's show that he probably wouldn't do that, given that they were so poor that if he did want to rest players, he probably can't. He probably needs to give them another hit out before the finals. And one thing about Craig has spoken before how he used to rest teams rest his players the week before the finals, and then he found out it was actually better to rest them 2 weeks before if they could do that, because then they got one game back together to go into the finals with and sort of pick up some momentum to go into the finals. Get the timing
right, etc.
Yeah. Now, we expect him to rest the players this week. He hasn't. Jerome Hughes is back this week, which I think is a big plus for the Storm. And I think really the Storm it's a funny thing. Everybody has rated them all year the best team in the competition, and they've never played the best football.
No. And they've played it at times.
At times,
definitely.
Yeah.
But they've looked unbeatable at times.
Yeah, but they've never been consistent with it, which is consistency, again, is a hallmark of Craig's coaching and all of Craig's teams. And the times there hasn't been consistency, they haven't won the grand final. Which that's my little... That's the little thing that scares me about the Storm. If you're a Storm fan, the years that they haven't really been, and they've struggled to find their consistency.
Good point, Kenty.
Is that they haven't won those years, and that's the concern this year. And that's why I think this week it will be all guns blazing. It'll be an interesting game this week. I don't know how it's going to go. Like I'd expect them to put a bit of a shellacking on the Broncos, just to show that yes, they are true premiership heavyweights. The Broncos, they'll get a real tickle up this week off Maguire now over the Shibasaki thing. Who knows what's going to happen with the Reece Walsh thing for the rest of the week? Like it's almost turning by the hour, the storyline there. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch.
It'll be a great game, both very up tempo. How do you then? You talk about not resting players in the last round, and then Ricky's rested 10 players from this weekend.
Yeah, well, that could backfire. Okay, there is a real risk there. But what other choice did he have? Look, he could have taken the risk, rested him last weekend against West Tigers, and so I said, you know what, we'll probably might be able to get away with the result. But they really wanted to win the minor premiership. I think they're, as a club, they're in a much different space than the Storm. Storm are always top four. Raiders haven't won a minor premiership since 1991, as we know. So they're in a much different place. And I think there's a real statement there from the Raiders, who've always felt underappreciated and unloved in the NRL. And this was their way of saying, look, hey, we're here and we matter. So I think last week they had to play their full side. So I think circumstance drove what happened this week. But apparently 3 of them are pretty much genuinely injured.
Okay.
The rest are just having a bit of a spell and freshener.
Yep.
So, look, we'll wait and see, But I think they're playing the best they can.
Okay, so news out of the Titans also that the clean-out's already started up there with the assistant coaches.
Yeah, Jim Lenihan, Michael Monahan and Brett White have all been let go by Josh Hannay.
Yep.
He's already, he knows what he wants. What I really liked about his quotes around that is he's spoken about what kind of style he wants the Titans to play.
Right.
He's already aware of what kind of style he wants them to play. So he's going into the new job when he starts, and obviously he's still working with Cronulla at the moment, but he's going into the new job with a clear mind on what the Titan kind of football will look like, which is something we've asked. What's
their DNA?
Yeah, exactly, and he's got a clear idea on that, and that, to be fair, probably went a long way to him getting the job. But he's got his idea on that. These 3 coaches don't fit that idea. They're still interviewing now for jobs for people to come in. He's kept 1 assistant coach up there. He's let 3 go, and he's only going to employ 2 in their place. So he's trying to also cut down the size of the coaching staff there, which again I think that's a pretty good idea. You get the guys in who you know can do the job, and there's the less voices, the less confusion.
Yep. More accountability for himself too.
Yeah. So I think it's a positive sign for the Titans. That
I think that the question for Josh is what he does about the salary cap, because the salary cap up there is way out of whack.
Yeah, that's going to take some time.
Yeah,
the salary caps can't be fixed in a year unless you're really prepared to have a really poor year.
Yeah.
Now, given he's a new coach into the club, I don't think he'll do that. I don't know how astute he is at working the cap. They're losing, as we famously all know now, Ezra Howe, their recruitment guy, who's across a lot of that. He's now leaving the club and joining the unemployment line, given what's going on there. So I don't know how he fixes that. I think his first thing is he's got to walk in. He's got to say, okay, this is the roster. This is how I want to play, and pick the right players in the right spot, and off they go. But yeah, it's a big call. It's a strong call from a new coach. But I think it's a real positive. If you're a Titans fan, you're looking at what's going on. I think it's positive that he's got a clear idea of what he wants it all to look like.
Very interesting. A big job ahead. It'd be interesting to see if he does a kind of Jason Riles there and cleans out the old wood.
I'm sure he will.
And,
I'm really sure he will. Yeah, I think they're cut from the same cloth in many ways, those two guys.
Yeah, okay. Phil Gould on Monday night questioned how come Brisbane and Melbourne always seem to get the Thursday night game. Is that just a bit of hijinks from him, do you think, with his Canterbury hat on, or do you think it's genuine?
It's a fair point. Look, this is one of those. We have these arguments in rugby league where we argue everything is blue, and then once it's blue, we now want it to turn back to white, and then when we get it all to white, we want it back to blue again.
Yeah.
So we've argued for years about how great it would be to have a full year's roster out, so we knew every team, every round, every game where they're playing at, so people could have the whole year then to plan their trips and go and follow the games.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we have an absolute crap month like the last month we've had, where the Sunday afternoon games have basically been absolute stinkers.
Dreadful.
Okay? But the other thing is, as part of planning ahead, historically Brisbane and Melbourne have been strong teams. So they are given Thursday night, and if you go back, they've got quite a few between them, Thursday night games.
High rating games.
In the last round of the season.
Yeah.
Which then gives them an extra 2 or 3 days
Yep.
rest
Yep.
before they go into the finals the weekend after.
Yeah.
Now, the Raiders, who haven't been a real strong finals contender in recent seasons, in the last decade, to be honest, other than the odd year here and there. Obviously, 19, they had a great year, and a couple of years ago, they fell into the 8 as well. But so they've been put on Sunday afternoon to play their game, and it gives them essentially, the Saturday draw has not really worked out yet. We don't know. The first round of the finals has not worked out yet, so we don't know who's playing Saturday or the Sunday or the Friday, whatever. But it basically means the Raiders are probably looking at a 6-day turnaround, which is a small reward. It was no reward, really, for winning the minor premiership, when the team that's run second, Melbourne, are playing Thursday night and got an extra 3 days rest before they have to go into their preparation. So,
well, Kenty, it's Wednesday, so that means Ask Kenty. But before we get to that, we always ask for your PointsBet multi.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be a little bit safe this week, but I think honestly, I just can't see how you lose this week. You double your money, $2.14. Roosters against South, Parramatta, Dolphins, and Penrith. They're all reasonably short. Put them in the multi, $2.14. But with the final so close, I think everything's bedded down this week. I can't see really any upsets. So,
Money for jam?
Put money for jam. Whatever you've got, put all of it on there. You'll have twice as much next week.
Gamble responsibly.
$2.14.
Okay, well, Kenty, it's Wednesday, so that's Ask Kenty's, and as per usual, we've got a long list, so we're going to ask you to go through them quickly. This is from Colin Kelly. Question relating to the top 30. How do Penrith have enough players in their top 30 to rest 16 players? 17 man plus 16 equals 33.
Yeah, well, what they do is they obviously go outside their top 30, which you can do. Like you're not limited to using your top 30. Top 30 is basically what your salary cap is spent on. So that's what the top 30 is. That's not limited to how many players you can have in your club, and that's salary cap money. And they're the top 30 paid players at your club have to come under the salary cap.
Okay.
So that's why you're allowed to do that. They do have a reserve grade side where a lot of those players will clearly just aren't in the top 30 paid players. They might qualify for a bonus, which now they're going to have to explain to the NRL how that happened. But, yeah, essentially the top 30, you're not limited to 30 players. That's just what your top 30 players must come under the salary cap, paid players.
Yeah. And you can only take 28 up until June, which is what some clubs do.
Yeah.
Use the extra money. It's quite interesting. We'll talk about that another day. Adam Sharlick, who's the rugby league personality who's passed away recently or passed away over time, player, coach, media that you wish was still here?
Oh, for me, it's very personal. Like I'd say Bob Fulton in a heartbeat because I was a friend of his.
Right.
I used to go shooting with him and shooting pigs and stuff with him. So, he was very, very helpful for me.
How'd you meet him?
Oh, just through work. It's funny, actually. I remember writing the story during the Super League War in 1995, and Bozo's contacts go as far as anywhere. And he had more power in the game than anybody. And I wrote a story having a bit of a crack at him. And went back to my mum and dad's one night to have dinner, and the phone rang. The Kangaroos were over in England playing, and he was over there coaching the Kangaroos in England. And the phone rang, and Mum comes in. She said, "Paul, Bob Fulton's on the phone."
Oh, wow.
He found me at my mum and dad's place.
That's unbelievable.
To blow up about the story. But yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, okay, how do you explain it? But yeah, he did. He found me. I was at mum and dad's having dinner. So and out of that. But look, we had our ding dongs early on, but we became really good friends. And but that said, look, I remember sitting next to Arthur Beetson the night Mark Coyne scored that try. He walked into the press box, right, of all things, all the nights, Origin night. That famous Mark Coyne try, Arthur Beetson walks in, sat down next to me, and just started talking through the game about what he was seeing. Come on, Gilly, got to do this, and come on, and all this sort of business. And yeah, it was he was just a wonderful bloke, Artie. And Tommy again, I love Tommy, mate. Tommy was just the best. So yeah, that's too many go too quickly, unfortunately.
Well, let's hope you go up there. Because if you go down there, you might not see those blokes. So I'm backing you to go up there. You'll see a few Tommy.
I reckon Tommy's down there.
Okay, Tommy's down. We'll see how we go. This is Stephen Finch says, what's going on at the footy with the fake chanting and cheering and sing-along in the PA system?
Great question. Great question.
Pisses
Honestly,
you off?
Oh, mate, gives me the shits.
Yeah.
Listen, look, I've said this before. You go to Leichhardt Oval, they're an educated crowd. They boo the opposition when they're lining up to kick the penalty goal. Which we love, right? They boo them when they run out onto the field.
Which we love.
And then you get some Derek on the PA system who starts, Tigers. Like they need to be told when to get involved in the game.
You know what I
the
hate?
Tigers
They
fans
yell at you. Come on, whatever fans.
Yeah, I know. Mate, honestly, they should cut the cord up there. They give me the shits. And the music now between periods of play, I don't get that. Look,
if we hear Sweet Caroline one more time in the finals, I'm going to run on the pitch.
But the thing is, rugby league fans have got a pretty good idea, and we're not an artificial game. We don't need artificial emotion. As I said, Tigers fans, mate, they know when to start yelling out and start up a chant to get the team going and give them a bit of energy.
You love the Tigers, don't you? I can tell.
Oh, I don't tell anyone.
Next question.
You'll ruin my reputation.
Dennis QB says, 2009 Premiership Melbourne cheated. Should Parramatta Eels retrospectively be celebrated?
No, one of them don't. Look, the fact is this. Okay, yes, they did cheat. They did, and they beat Melbourne. Melbourne beat Parramatta in that grand final. Melbourne, from memory, correct me if I'm wrong here, Melbourne, from memory, knocked out Manly in the first round of the week of the finals. And then they knocked out, I think it was Brisbane, the week in the preliminary final to make the grand final. So theoretically, Brisbane could have been playing Parramatta that day in the grand final, and Brisbane might have won the grand final.
Good point.
But they were knocked out by Melbourne, who beat Parramatta the week before. So you can't unequivocally say that it was Parramatta's grand final. They just happened to be on the other side of the draw of Melbourne.
Yeah.
But Manly and Broncos, being on the same side of the draw as Melbourne through the finals, they were already eliminated by Melbourne. So you can't give it to the Eels, sadly. All
right, I reckon this is a stitch-up, this question. The Wet Wombat says, thoughts of bringing back a proper reserve-grade competition. Currently, the next rung of talent is spread across 28 teams, thinning out the quality of both coaches and players.
Well, that's what. How would reserve grade be any different than the next rung? That's what the reserve grade is. The next rung.
Strengthen the competitive. Yeah, I don't get it.
No, but look, every club already.
I guess what he's saying
if it's a serious question, look, in every club already has. Maybe merging them, you could get that argument up. But every club already has at least one, sometimes two. State Cup teams they're affiliated with.
Maybe that's what he's referring to.
And they bring that through. But the problem with that, and Vladis has actually spoken about trying to get this up. And the clubs are just like going, no.
Too expensive?
Because the costs, the costs of running.
Well, that's why they got rid of the under-20s comp, just too expensive.
Well, look, back in the day, like I remember when, the very old days, teams going up the Gold Coast, you had to take first grade, second grade, and 21s up.
What about first grade, second grade, third grade? Those were the days.
Yeah, they didn't. Those days there was no interstate
travel, New South Wales. All right, comic collecting.
Carpool those days.
Why do they? You can imagine that. Why do they change the points for a try from 3 to 4?
To encourage more try scoring, because there was a period there in the game where it was just in the 80s, sometime in the 80s this happened. So I can't remember what year it was. It was in the 80s though. Essentially what was happening was because penalty goals were at 2 points, tries were 3 points, and we went through that really dour defensive period of the game. And games were very low scoring, and teams were actually winning games by kicking penalty goals. So to try and encourage try scoring and to go for a try rather than take the penalty goal, they increased tries to 4 points.
And that's what happened in rugby too, with the try went to 5 because penalty goal was worth 3. What's the one change, El McGarty, what's the one change you'd make to even out the competition? We get this every week, this question.
Oh, look, it depends which way you look at it. Look, I think as long as there's fairness and every team's got the same opportunity, that's all you need. Now, that comes down, for me, to salary cap, okay?
Third-party deals maybe as well?
Yeah, third-party and all that. That said, I think a truly even competition where every team, I think, would be awful. I actually like the fact you have your champion teams.
Yeah.
And I like the fact Melbourne have been so dominant through eras.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, because,
you don't want like the NBA where it's a new champion every year.
Well, you let's look back at the 50s and 60s. Saints were the team. They were the benchmark of rugby league. I think they actually elevated the sport. And the Parramatta side of the 80s, they were just a champion team. It's an era you look back on with fondness.
Canberra, the Green Machine.
The Green Machine, and we'll one day do that about this Penrith team.
Yep.
So, and as much as frustrating it is for other people who are Penrith fans, the fact that you've had a champion there that you want to knock off, I think it's kind of good to have a dominant team from that point of view, where they do it through excellence and hard work, not because they've been allowed to spend more than opposition players.
Yep. Good call. Scott Corboy says, I've got a question about defence. I've always wondered why teams line up with their half defending the second rower and vice versa.
Oh, look, that's a funny one, though. Look, this is going to be a little bit hard to explain. They don't necessarily line up to do that. They line up, so they'll line up now. They'll have their wingers, and then they have their centres, and then they'll have a back rower, and then they have their half or 5'8", the playmaker inside them. So they don't actually mark up that way. But what happens is because they shift in attack, players wrap around each other, and some guys will play under, which means they play back towards the play of the ball, and they run all different lines. And what they're actually trying to do is to try and get the back rowers running at the halves because they're bigger and hopefully they bust a tackle or they get an offload.
Run over the top of them.
So they don't actually line up that way. They artificially create it through their plays that they run. And the reason they get away with it is because it's much harder to adjust defensively. So in defence, you don't cross over a player.
Yep.
So in attack, a back rower will cross outside or a player or whatever. Okay, that you see in all those block plays, right? They'll cross over each other. Yep. Defensively, you don't do that. Yep. So because once you do that, it's too easy to exploit from an attacking point of view. So they don't line up that way, but they artificially create it from an attacking point of view, and you try and stop it from a defensive point of view.
Okay, we've got to push through these. Dugro says, I've asked a reasonable question for weeks now about the different way that Braithen Astor spoke about his player, Lachlan Ilias, compared to how he spoke about Lewis Dodd. Disappointed that Kenty has ducked the question.
I haven't ducked the question. You've only asked it to me now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've forgotten it. I just didn't think it was that interesting.
Look, the thing about that is, Braith's got an interest there with Lachlan Ilias, okay?
Yeah.
So I understand Braith talking differently about it, okay, because he has an interest there as Lachlan Ilias' manager. But on the flip side to it is Braith, he's got an interest on both sides, okay? He's copped an earn from Fox Sports to be a media commentator, and he's copped an earn off Lachlan Ilias to be a manager. So he's got to answer it, I think, transparently. I don't know what his answer is, so I don't. Yeah,
I think the point is he's given it to Lewis Dodd and said he's the worst signing of the year. But you compare that to Lachlan Lewis, who's been dropped. We've got to keep moving.
Well, anyway, the point of all that is, yes, Braith's got to. He should be at least addressing it. How he answers is up to him. He doesn't have to tell people his version of the truth.
Yep. Steve No Parsons says, "Congrats on 100 shows. If you were two halves or centre pairing, from which era, who do you reckon you'd be?"
I don't know. Seth Blinkhorn.
Okay.
I don't know. Who would we be?
I thought Bert and Ernie, maybe.
Bert and Ernie, yeah, that'll do us. I don't know if
Okay.
they're a halves pairing.
No.
But half wits.
Yeah. A couple more. This is love the war stories. This is Posek. Do you have any journo wartime stories? Second last question.
Oh, look. Let me have a think about it. And
Okay, we'll do
I'll
that
get
next
some.
week.
Look, I've got some. I've just got to figure out how I can not end up in gossip columns if I name a few stories.
All right, last question. Peter Ferguson. Any chance that once a year they have a special local derby round where where at half times the teams get on a bus and go to the other team's home ground to play the second half? For example, Dragons versus Sharks, the first half is played at Cogra. Meanwhile, at Shark Park, the stadium is full of fans at the empty stadium watching the first half on the big screen. Yeah. Then half time blows, both teams get on the bus.
Was. Mate, that idiot, whatever your name is,
Peter Ferguson.
He's had a bet with his mates that he can get that question on. You just want him a round of beers. Because that is, I think that's the dumbest one we've had all year. And look, it's a piss take. So, mate, Peter, go and enjoy your beers, mate, because I tell you what, the embarrassment, I'm going to remember that Peter Ferguson. So, you're barred, Peter.
Very good. All right, Kenty, well done. That's it for us. Until tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.